Hello and welcome to AM Language. Welcome to AM Language. I'm Richie, and today is Tuesday afternoon, and we are going to look at English humor. I'm going to teach you the basics of how to be funny in English, and we're going to look at three styles effectively. So welcome to today's lesson. I'm just going to see if I can find the lesson myself. Apologies, I'm 2 minutes late. Hopefully you guys can find the video. Irina F, hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. I'm very happy to say, by the way, we have reached 570 subscribers. So that is excellent. We're 30 away from 600. I think it might be realistic to think we could get to 560. Well, 600, maybe by the 2021. Let's see if we can get to 30 more subscribers by then. So we have Evelina, good afternoon. Buono pomeriggio. I hope you're doing well. Who else? Leondina, buono pomeriggio. Welcome to today's lesson. And Roberto, good afternoon. Buono pomeriggio as well. So there might be some similarities. I've just noticed my face is really bright at the moment because the sun is in my face. Alida, good afternoon. Buenos dias, where you are in the world. I mean, if I put my hand over there, it's not as bad, but the sun is kind of in my face, so forgive me for the brightness. So there might be some similarities, but anyone who has had any exposure to English humor will know that in Britain we have a very what we call dry, sarcastic sense of humor. We don't say what we mean literally. So these are the adjectives. Okay, English humor. Let's say English humor is dry, maybe a bit witty, and sarcastic. Okay, so that's how we describe it. Now, what do we mean by dry? Dry means if we're talking about a dry sense of humor, it's to do with the delivery. It's not exciting. we don't have an excited voice. It means our voice is not exciting. It's sort of, what's the best way to describe it? I think it's better to describe what it isn't. So a dry humor is when the voice is not there we go. It's not excitable. It's not excitable, jumpy, or energetic. That's what we mean by dry. It's the opposite from being excitable, jumpy, and energetic. It's kind of like the way we give our like when people talk about the weather or the news. It's just dry. It's not exciting. It's very different from American English in that sense. When we say witty, okay, if it's witty humor, it means quick. Okay, witty humor is quick humor. So you think of your line, your humor very quickly. So that's what we mean by witty. And sarcastic simply means the words are not to be taken literally. Okay, so there's something about our language where it is not literal. This is really different from American humor. So we might say the word boiling, but it doesn't mean we mean boiling. We might use the word exciting, but it doesn't mean this is exciting. And this comes in with dry. So, for instance, if we were to say, if someone were to ask, what did you think of the film? Okay, and someone replied saying, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. I can't watch it. It's so exciting. I can't bring myself to watch it again. Um, this would be dry, witty, sarcastic humor. It was so exciting. I can't bring myself to watch it again. This really means that one, it's the opposite. It wasn't very exciting. And two, I don't want to watch it again. So it's the opposite meaning. Sarcasm, think of the opposite half the time. So that is how we would describe the English sense of humor. Let me know in the live. The other thing is this: there's an element of mocking in English. So when we say mocking, um, or let's say to mock something, okay, mock is to make fun of. Um, the the aim of the, or who the joke is directed at, and it's usually negative in some sort of way. So to mock, that's the verb, adjective, mocking. Okay. We like to mock in English, so we might like to make fun of things. We like to mock ourselves as well. So we will be the joke. In English, we've got the phrase butt of a joke, okay? Butt of the joke, meaning who the joke is directed at, okay? So let me know in the live comments if you guys have a similar sense of humor from where you are, or if you would say, it's not the same, it's different. So the first thing I'm going to look at with this is, how do we talk about ourselves in English? Now, there's something about this is probably, again, something very different to American humor. We have something called self-depreciation, okay, or another word would be, we like to mock ourselves. This is effectively what we mean. Alida says, we have a very sarcastic humor also in Argentina. Okay, so maybe there might be some similarities here. So self-depreciation, to mock ourselves. Tell people how bad we are at something. So we can be funny when we do this, but there's a rule. If you want to talk about yourself in a negative way, but you want to be funny, this is the rule to use, okay? Pick two, or choose, okay, two things that don't go together, or you overemphasize a similarity. Okay, so it might be like analogies sometimes as well. So, for example, one could say this. Okay, let's say the question is, "Are you good at sport?" Okay. And the reply, okay, the response, if it wants to be funny in English, we would go with this, okay? I have all the athleticism of a couch potato. Now, athleticism. Oh, what happened there? My charger. So the first thing we need to know, if you are athletic or athleticism, it means you are energetic, you are very good, you are good at sport. But a couch potato in English is another word for saying a lazy person who sits on the sofa all day. Okay, and this is what I mean by we put two things together that are opposites. And then it's the way you say it. So you don't say, I have all the athleticism of a couch potato. No, you want to be dry, very unenthusiastic, not excitable, which is why you then say, I have all the athleticism of a couch potato. So no, I am not good at sport. So that is an example. We take something like that, and a couch potato is a lazy person who sits on the sofa all day watching Netflix. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The question is, and you guys can now try and complete the answer. Okay, so let's see if you guys can do this. The question is, are you good at computers? Okay, the response, and you're going to complete the response for me. Okay, which response do you think is the best response, the most English response to this question? Okay, we're going to try and complete it. Okay, so let's see how you guys do with this one. Remember, you need to think of something that is the complete opposite, but there's something funny about it, or you overemphasize something. So the response is, I have as much knowledge of computers as Trump has of A, business, B, B, golf, C, politics, D, money. So which one do you think the English person would choose in order to be funny? A leader says C. Okay, guys, do you agree with a leader? Is it C? Remember, we're looking for something that is just funny because it's the opposite of some kind. Okay, you're all saying C. And yes, C is the correct answer. Well done. Yes, C. And that would be a classic bit of English humor. I have as much knowledge of computers as Trump has of politics. We could also play around with that. We could say, as Trump, I have as much knowledge of computers as Trump has of democracy, for example. So you can be funny with that. Let's go again. We're off to a good start over here. Next one. We're going to go with this. Okay, so the question is, again, let's see which one you guys go for. The question is, can you dance? Okay, the response to this is, again, let's see what you guys go for. So my dance moves reflect my inner spirit animal. Now, when someone says their inner spirit animal, it's their personality. If their personality had an animal with that specific field, okay? So my dance moves reflect my inner, reflect is to show, my inner spirit animal, which is a cheetah, B, goldfish, C, bird, or D, Let's go with this. Snake. Now, you might find that depending on your idea of dancing, you might have a different idea which one might be funny here. But which one do you think is the funniest answer here? Because it is the complete opposite of someone who is good at dancing. Let's see. So, okay, Alida's gone for D. Let's see if you guys agree. I think there could be potentially two. I should have put worm. I should have put a worm in there actually because of the worm. The worm move. Leondina says A. That would be interesting. That would be a very interesting dance move if someone danced like a cheetah. I think there should be running. We'll see. I mean, I think this one is quite subjective. I think there's more than one correct answer here, potentially. Roberta says B. Okay, for me personally, if I were to answer this, I would probably go with B myself. But if you've gone for... oh, yes, sorry. Which animal is a cheetah? I think that's your question. Which animal is a cheetah? Oh, yes. How did I... Wait a minute. I think I know what's happened here. How did I spell cheetah? Oh, sorry. Yes, no, I misspelled cheetah. Sorry, I misspelled cheetah. I misspelled cheetah. That's a different cheetah. I spelled the wrong cheetah. Sorry. That is someone who is dishonest in a game. Sorry, I meant cheetah. I didn't realize. Cheetah, spotted cat, fast cat. Okay. Apologies about the typo. I didn't realize I spelt the wrong cheetah there. Yeah, for me, I personally would go for the goldfish because I can't dance. It's a bit silly, but I think you guys get the idea. The only one that might be that doesn't quite work potentially is a bird, because birds are known to dance. So I think A could, I don't know, you're a cat. So I don't know, I get the idea cats might be able to dance. Snake and goldfish might be the best two answers there. Okay, let's look at the last one in this. This is a little bit ridiculous, this one. Okay. So, are you good at languages? I have to be careful of typos because I type quite quickly. So I just need to wait a little bit before I press enter. So, are you good at languages? The response. Okay. What do you guys think? I have a gift for languages in the same way as an ant has a talent for... Then let's look at our options. A, collecting food. B, collecting plants. C, building tunnels. Or D, beekeeping. In case you don't know what beekeeping is, beekeeping are people who have bees and they produce honey. So which one do you think is the... it's quite simple. Which one doesn't go with ants? And that way we have an idea of what we're talking about. Alida goes with D. Let's see if others agree. I have a gift for languages in the same way as an ant has a talent for beekeeping. Okay, you're all going with D. And yeah, that's it. That's exactly how the self-mockery works. We pick an opposite to what we're talking about, which really sort of says, I am really bad at this. And we use these sort of terms. I don't know if it's the same in your language, where the people would make these sort of jokes, but that's one example. Now, let's move on to when we talk about other people. So again, there's a very similar way of there's similar. The rules are a bit similar here. So, describing other people in a less than complimentary way, but funny. Okay, again, it's the same rule. We're going to try and pick two things that don't go together, or we overemphasize similarity. So for this one, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to try and decide if it's two things that don't go together, or are we overemphasizing a similarity? So let's say, the question is, do you think she'll move on this? Now, when we use move in this case, it's like a change. So maybe like a change of mind, change her position. So this is not physical. This is not physical. This is to do with what this person thinks. The response, okay. The response could be, she's as likely to move as a hippo without legs. So the question is for you guys, is this the following? Is it A, two things that don't go together? Is it B, overemphasizing a similarity? Or is it C, a bit of both, a bit of both? Okay, so do you think she'll move on this? So do you think she'll change her mind? And you're applying, she's as likely to move as a hippo without legs. Leondina says this is B, overemphasizing a similarity. Let's see if you guys agree. Again, it does depend the way we say it. We are not going to say, well, she's as likely to move as a hippo without legs. We are not going to be excited about this. We are going to be dry. She's as likely to move as a hippo without legs. Do you guys agree with Leondina? Is this reply overemphasizing a similarity? Alida thinks it might be A. Roberto says it might be B. Sorry, might be A. Okay. And Evelina says that she agrees with Leondina. Okay, you could make an argument that there's a little bit of two things that don't go together, because hippos have legs. However, that's not the main point. The point is that we want to overemphasize that a hippo without legs is not going to move at all. And that is how stubborn this person is going to be. She isn't moving on this one. So the correct answer here is going to be B. It's overemphasizing a similarity in this example. Let's go with another one. This one. Okay. Let's say, So the context could be anything. We could be talking about a disguise. It could be about character. But the answer is going to be this. He's as obvious as a giraffe trying to get into an only polar bear golf club. Really stupid. I mean, in English, this sounds funny in English, because you're trying to picture a giraffe pretending to be a polar bear. Okay, and that kind of gives you a clue as to what we're looking at over here. Is it two things that really don't go together? Is it overemphasizing a similarity, or are we saying it's a bit of both? So, for example, if we change the tense, this might work even better. So you could say, "Ooh, do you think he was? Do you think he was a bit obvious?" And you could reply, "He was as obvious as a giraffe trying to get into an only polar bear golf club." Meaning he really was very obvious. It was very clear what was happening. So Lee and Dina, Roberto are saying A, and yeah, look, this would be the correct answer. Okay, it is going to be A. Now, this in English sounds funny when we put two things together that don't go together, and we like doing it. I don't know if it works necessarily or translates into your own language, but feel free to try and give me an example where you think there is some similarity. I'm going to give you on this one, there's quite a few ones that we could go with. I'm going to give you three more, and I'm just going to see which one you think is the funniest. Okay, so number one. Is she dramatic? Okay, and the response would be, she's as dramatic as an Italian opera with Pavarotti on crack. Crack being a drug. Okay, so that's option one. Option two, again. So was he subtle? Or another word for subtle would be obvious. And the response would be, actually, I'll change that. Let me just change that because of the tense. So. So do you think he was subtle enough? Now, just to remind you guys, subtle is obvious. Okay? And the reply over here would be, that's supposed to be was, but a double S by accident. There we go. Okay. And the response is, he was about as subtle as a person's breath after eating garlic and snails. If you're not too sure about what a snail is, I suggest copy it and just look at Google, because I have no idea how to describe a snail. It's a small animal, and you can find it in some French dishes. And number three, this is the last one. Number three, were they helpful? Were they helpful? And the reply is, their input was about as helpful as an answering machine. So let me know, which one do you think is the funniest one out of these three responses? So you've got one, is she dramatic? And the reply is, she's as dramatic as an Italian opera with Pavarotti on crack. So you're taking something to an extreme level. 2, do you think he was subtle enough? The reply, he was as subtle as a person's breath after eating garlic and snails. And 3, were they helpful? Their input was about as helpful as an answering machine. That's quite an unfortunate one. Leondina says 2. So that's going with he was about as subtle as a person's breath after eating garlic and snails. Alida says, for me, the funniest is the first one. So she's as dramatic as an Italian opera with Pavarotti on crack. Fair enough. I think if you came out with 3 in a business meeting, that would be really unfortunate if you were to say, I mean, to be honest with you, that's my response when you try to ring for, let's say you want to get through to your bank or something like that, or you want to get through to your phone company, and you're there waiting and waiting and waiting. I think that's a good one. Their input was about as helpful as an answering machine. Okay, so let's move on to the last one. Okay, the last type of humor that we're going to look at, and this one is to do with a play on words. Okay, a play on words, and this is what happens when we talk about history and politics. Now, what I would like you guys to look at here is this, and I'm going to give you an example. So the sentence might read, some people might say, we invaded India. Now, invade is attack and take, okay? Invaded India and took, which is another word in this case for stole, what we liked. However, we, the British, we like to think we were cultural and just incorporated things we liked. This is what I mean by a play on words. So the hard word, and probably the truthful word, is going to be take or stole in this case. Took, actually. So what are we doing? We are changing this for a slightly different, a word that is not a synonym, but it has, there's a way whereby we're explaining things using different words, which what we're really doing is we're not saying the whole truth at all. So in this case, we're changing this to incorporated, or adopted. Okay, it's what we would say, we're being slightly dishonest. It's funny when we use this word because we know it doesn't say the whole truth. We're actually kind of giving a little, where it's, you know what it is? It's saying, yes, this is true, but I'm just going to change the language so it doesn't sound as bad. Change the language so it doesn't sound so bad. This is another thing that people like to do in England. This is a big part of English humor. We change the words, so we are saying yes, but we're going to change the words so it doesn't sound as bad. So let's see how you guys get on with the next one. Okay, you guys are going to have to choose the word that fits this description. We're changing, we're looking for a word that still kind of says yes, but not nearly as bad. Okay, so let's see what you guys go for here. It'll be interesting what you guys go with. So some people might say we were defeated, so we lost. But we prefer to think of it as a minor, so a small, uh, E or C. So which one do you think is the correct one here? We still are saying yes, but we're going to choose a term that, you know, really is trying to make it sound not as bad, not nearly as bad. A leader says B. Okay, so if you guys agree with B, let me know. Do you agree with a leader? Is the answer B? Some people might say we were defeated, but we prefer to think of it as a minor setback. Roberto says victory. If it is victory, that's quite funny. It is quite funny. The answer actually is B, because we are still saying yes. So that's the correct answer. However, C is also quite a funny answer. Um, and I think you would have to change the context just slightly. I'm glad you didn't go for A. I mean, if we say, but we prefer to think of it as a minor victory, you know what? I'm going to give you half a mark, actually. Okay, I'm going to give you half a mark for C, because it is actually quite funny, and I can think of the context in which way we would use this. Actually, I have seen people use this before. Okay, good. Well done. Let's move on to the next one. This one is okay. Let's look at this one. This one is close to my heart at the moment because of the situation in the UK. Let's see what you guys go with here. What's the best way we can end this? Okay, so now I'm going to give you more language here. So the first part is, now this is to do with the context of Brexit, the UK leaving Europe. So our current Prime Minister has the manners of an outraged gorilla who's. Now, the first thing we need to know, manners is to do with your behavior, how you act. Are you polite or are you rude? If you have good manners, you are polite. If you have bad manners, then you are rude. Now, outraged is another word for very angry. Okay. Gorilla who's. Now, let me know. I'm going to give you two choices here. Tell me which one you think is the best and funniest way to complete this. Is it A? What's happening here? There we go. That's the problem. Or B? So, which one is the funnier and better response, do you think? Don't forget, there has to be, the rule is a play on words in this case. There has to be an element of surprise to it as well. So, Brexit. Our current Prime Minister has the manners of an outraged gorilla who's discovered that he needs to fight another gorilla. Okay. You can't see A? Okay, I'll post A again. I'll post A again if you can't see it. This is A. Okay, that's A. And this is B. I'll post B again so people don't get confused. Or B, our current Prime Minister has the manners of an outraged gorilla who's discovered he's on the wrong side of the river with all the female gorillas on the other side. And I've just realized that gorilla in this one is spelt wrong. One moment. Let me just correct the spelling of gorillas. I didn't realize. Okay. So Leondina's gone for B. Do you guys agree with Leondina? Do you think B is the funnier one? We need to think of the actual context. So if we know a little bit about what's going on, this will also help. Roberto's gone for B as well. So you guys are saying our current Prime Minister has the manners of an outraged gorilla who's discovered he's on the wrong side of the river with all the female gorillas on the other side. I personally would go for B, and I think this is I would say, yeah, B is correct. And I would say this is quite true. We are on the other side of the river at the moment, and things are looking very bad. All the attractive things are in Europe, on the other side. So that's why, in this context, this could be funny. And finally, this one. Which one do you think is the best way to complete this sentence? You might call it an invasion. We prefer to think of it as a... So which one do you think goes? Potentially, I mean, look, if you think you could use all of them, maybe in some context, but in terms of the structure of the sentence, which one is the easiest one to go with? Roberto has said A, so you're saying you might call it an invasion, but we prefer to think of it as a restructuring of government. Good, excellent. You've all gone for the correct one. It is A. The answer is A. Good, well done. So I'm now going to finish off by explaining this. Understated. The important word in all this, which I've left to the very end in order to really understand this type of humor, is the word understated. Okay. Now, understated is... There's a few ways of looking at it. Now, the dictionary will describe it as so, okay? Presented or expressed in a subtle and effective way. So, what we're really saying by an understated is we are saying something that doesn't reflect the reality of something. We are softening the reality, and we're being funny about it. It can be very effective when being diplomatic, but not all the time. But this is a key element of British humor. We like to understate things a lot. But there's a cultural thing here whereby you and me we both would be using language that understates the situation. But we both know what we mean by it, and we know how serious the situation is. We are just choosing our language differently. And in doing so, we can be funny. I don't know if this necessarily works in Italian or in Russian or Spanish. I don't know if it works in other languages. Let me know if you think it can work in your language. Does this type of humor exist in your language? Do people use this type of humor? But there's always a cultural thing. Now, this is difficult for me to do because a big part of humor is to be able to see how people react. Here, I cannot see how people react. And there's also a lot of personality needed as well. But this is just a basic introduction into 3 styles of British sense of humor. It's not literal, it's very sarcastic, it's dry, and we like to understate things. Or we might sometimes go way over the top, and we go for silly analogies. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you have enjoyed the lesson, please make sure you like the video. And if you are new, subscribe. As always, if you want to find out more about how you can have physical live lessons in Malta at AM Language, click on the links below and you can find the links to our social media pages and you can find the link to our website. Roberto says, yes, we have it in Italian as well, but maybe it's not the best kind in our culture. That's absolutely fine. I think this is, I mean, look, when it comes to culture, there's a really big difference between American humor, for example, and English humor. English humor, characters are usually very unlikable and not very moral. In American humor, characters are usually more likable and they are trying to do the right thing. But they're just not very good at it. I think the biggest example is it's the Simpsons. The Simpsons is a funny program. It's been going for years. Homer Simpson is a very likable character. He gets it wrong, but he's likable. In England, this isn't the case. We always go for characters that are just not likable. It's part of the humor. Roberta says, yes, we have it in Italian as well, but maybe it's not the best kind in our culture. Fair enough. Okay, guys, I thank you so much for watching. A big thank you to Roberto, Leandina, Evelina, Irina F, and Alida for joining us today. I think I mentioned everyone. Thank you, Alida. You too. Take care. You too, Irina F. Thank you very much. Just to remind you guys, I will be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock, same time, with another lesson. And tomorrow we're going to look at stop being repetitive. Okay, so that will be a very useful lesson. You too, Roberto. You too, Leandina. Thank you for the funny lesson. You're welcome. And Evelina, well done, by the way, Evelina. I know you're of only an elementary level, but you did really well today. So well done. So have a great evening, everybody. Take care. See you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Bye for now.